Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode in our TNA series in TEW 2020. It is time for Sacrifice 2015. We have had a short build, but it is time. A lot of big time matches happening on tonight's card. So we're going to dive right into things with a couple of pre-show matches, if you will. Dark matches, whatever you want to call them exactly. In front of 30,938 people at Fenway Park because, yeah, why not? The former tag team champions, the Briscoes, defeat the Scene in 717. The Scene are part of the narrative. They're just labeled as a Scene as a tag team in this. When Jay Briscoe pinned Caleb Conley with a double underhook pile driver, or the Jay Driller. This was basically just, I wanted to make sure the Briscoes had a match on this show. They're kind of out of the title picture for the time being, and I don't really have a story for them at the moment, so they're wrestling in a dark match here and defeating two members of the narrative. So there's that. And then in another dark match, Madison Rayne defeats Havoc. Just kind of keeping Madison Rayne popularity-wise. Trying to keep her going, put her on an event, even if it is a dark match. She defeats Havoc, who, up until this point, she only had like 2 or 3 matches, but she was undefeated, but she loses here to Madison Rayne. They don't seem to click, so that kind of sucks, but there you go. There's a nice little couple of dark matches for the crowd, the almost 31,000 plus in attendance for the show. We open up with our mixed tag team matchup that gets a 69 rating. Nice. Good way to start off the show. As James Storm and ODB actually defeat Magnus and Mickie James at 12:46 when ODB pinned Mickie James with a TKO. 69 rating for the match. Good performances throughout it there. Obviously, in-ring performance-wise, it would have been smarter for the other team to win, but yeah, I have storyline purposes there. So ODB gets clean victory over Mickie James here. Gotta imagine that's going to set up for something. James Storm and Magnus not officially involved in the finish, so you gotta imagine that's still going to set up for something. But yeah, nice opening mixed tag team matchup here for Sacrifice. Then, 65 rated matchup. The C's Kazarian defeat Adam Cole in 10:24 by pinfall after using a foreign object. 59 from Kazarian, 58 from Adam Cole. Advancing that storyline, which is good. So Kazarian wins, but it is by cheap tactics, so we'll have to see if there ends up being a rematch in the future. But Kazarian does get the victory over Adam Cole. We'll have to see where things up go with that. But there you go. Then next, we have a 73 rated promo. As MVP is standing backstage with members of the BDC. And he's just like, Homicide and Kingston are in the action tonight and they're going to win their match. And De Niro and Benjamin, they have the night off. But Benjamin said he wants to join the commentary table for the main event. He says he wants to see who's going to win that match firsthand so that he knows ahead right off the bat who his opponent is at Slammiversary. But doesn't matter who it is because Benjamin will retain that championship and the BDC will continue to dominate here in TNA. 73 rating. Brought the storyline down, but got a crowd hotter, so there's that. Kind of basic stuff like what we've been hearing lately from the BDC, but yeah, there's that. I wanted to make sure I got a few of them featured on the show and all that stuff, so. We got a 58 rated matchup here that sees in non-title action Cheerleader Melissa and Kana defeat Candice LeRae and Evie in 10:41 when Melissa pinned LeRae with the air raid crash. 58 rating, putting it into that storyline. They finally had their tag team matchup against each other, and Melissa and Kana won. We're moving Melissa and Kana onto a different thing, as well as Candice and Evie, moving them onto different things as well. But months of build, not a whole lot of build, but there were a few different segments, or there were a decent amount of segments with this storyline, even if it took a backseat the last few weeks. But the Knockouts Tag Team Champions get a non-title victory over Candice and Evie, and we will have to see who is up next, whether it's Io and Mio Shirai getting a rematch, whether it's Gail Kim using that guarantee title shot to get a shot at the Knockouts tag titles, or whether it's some other duo that steps up to challenge Melissa and Kana for those tag titles. But 58 rating here, not too bad. We get a 69 rating for a random match that was not announced ahead of time. Commentators mention, or kind of say that Jeff Hardy went to Daredevil after Impact 2 weeks ago, or after Impact last week, this past Thursday, whatever, and asked for a match against a House of Truth member. And so it ended up being Rhino. And Jeff Hardy defeats Rhino in 10:56 by pinfall, the Twist of Fate. 69 rating for the match. Jay Lethal joined the commentary table and was kind of running down Jeff Hardy the whole time, talking about him being a spot monkey and all that stuff. But Jeff Hardy gets the victory. So there you go. Jeff Hardy gets some momentum ahead of what might eventually be a match between him and Lethal for the title. Speaking of which, afterwards, Hardy gets up on the corner kind of facing the commentary table, and kind of makes a title motion. Like, I want the championship. And Lethal kind of gets up from the commentary table and staring at him. Like, you're not the number one contender for the X Division title. You can't decide whether you get a title shot or not. I decide that, and you're not going to get one. That's what he's kind of saying with the headset still on from the commentary table. 77 here. Really good stuff there. As we'll have to see what ends up happening with those two heading forward. Then we get another tag team matchup that gets 66 rating as Kendrick and London defeat the Strong South Thugs in 9:46 when Paul London pinned Homicide with the Get Well Soon. Yeah, good stuff there from those two. London and Kendrick getting the victory here. Our tag team champions, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, came out during the matchup and joined the commentary table, because everybody likes to join the commentary table here in TNA. And we're kind of running down the fact that London and Kendrick are even teaming together, and that if London is smart, he would go after the X Division Championship, or he would figure out something else. He wouldn't come after the tag titles, because if he did, doesn't matter whether him and Kendrick are getting along in this matchup or not, the Guns would make sure that those two would fail miserably at Slammiversary. But they get the victory here in this matchup, and then afterwards, they're celebrating the win before they have a little bit of a stare down with the Guns. Kind of similar to what we just saw with Lethal and Hardy, although Lethal wasn't, in this situation, Sabin and Shelley had taken off the headsets. Before that, they were kind of on the stage, raising the championships up in the air. Whereas Kendrick and London were kind of looking, they're looking at each other, and they're looking up at the Guns, kind of looking at each other. So kind of some uneasiness there, but 62 rating here, as we will have to see what ends up happening with that. We get a 72 rated matchup here as Jacobs and Cabana defeat the Decay in 9:49 when Cole Cabana pinned Crazy Steve with a Colt 45. Crazy Steve with a weak link. But yeah, there you go. So Jacobs and Cabana get the victory over Abyss and Crazy Steve here at Sacrifice. However, after the match, Abyss does not take that defeat lightly, and he lays out Jacobs and Cabana before getting a table, bringing it into the ring, and choke slamming Jimmy Jacobs through the table. So there's that 66 rating here. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But yeah, Cabana and Jacobs got the victory, but they don't exactly look like they're in any sort of celebration at this point, because Jimmy Jacobs is broken through a table, or laid out in over a broken table, I guess. And Colt Cabana is kind of, slowly crawling over to him to try to check on his friend and all that stuff. Then we have the Beautiful People actually take a loss to Gail Kim and Serena Deeb in a 63 rated matchup. That's one of our best knockouts only matches we've ever had. 63 rating there as Gail Kim and Serena Deeb defeat the Beautiful People in 12:08 when Gail Kim pinned Velvet Sky with a Hurricanrana. So she actually pinned the Knockouts champion. Really great stuff there from those four. Angelina Love was a weak link. I kind of I have a bit of a character storyline for Angelina Love for the rest of 2015 here in game wise, because I've kind of buried her a little bit too much. I've kind of used her as, she's just the lackey to Velvet, and she's the one that takes a loss. She's the one that takes the loss for a lot of the Beautiful People matches. And so her in-ring performance kind of suffered from it. So you might be starting to see her get a little bit more momentum behind her as the rest of 2015 goes on, for a character storyline I have in mind for her. But 63 rating here as Gail Kim and Serena Deeb get the victory. Very surprising. Very surprising there. Many people probably expected the opposite to happen. Especially since Kim and Deeb are, they're frenemies, so to speak. I mean, they're still, according to Gail Kim, they're best friends and they're great tag team partners and all that stuff. Serena Deeb's still not 100% trusting Gail, but she's, just kind of seeing how things are working. And they seem to be working decently as a tag team so far. Velvet's complete shock about what just happened as Gail Kim grabs a microphone after the match and says that people have been asking her which championship is she going for at Slammiversary. And she says, with all due respect to Serena, she talked it over with her, and if this didn't prove it, then she'll make it official. She is challenging for the TNA Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary. So there you go. It is official for Slammiversary. Gail Kim one-on-one with Velvet Sky for that TNA Knockouts Championship. That should be a pretty good matchup itself, as Velvet's going to have to, recover from the fact that she was just pinned in the middle of the ring. It's been a long time since she actually was pinned. She, I think she's had a few other losses over the last few months, but it's been mostly in tag team action where Angelina Love took the loss. So this is the first time in a long time where she actually was the one who was defeated. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But this got 62 as, there you go. So it is official. Gail Kim is challenging Velvet Sky for the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary, and we'll have to see how things play out with that heading forward over the next few weeks. Then we get an 80 rated matchup. I expected that, honestly. As Kurt Angle, in a superb matchup, defeats Bobby Roode in 6:16 by submission with an ankle lock. 80 from Kurt Angle, 73 from Bobby Roode. Gained heat for the mentorship storyline that Bobby Roode is kind of a part of now. But Charles Betts also was at ringside supporting Kurt during this matchup. So there you go, Kurt Angle defeating Bobby Roode. Now, you might be saying, well, Daredevil, that's like 50-50 booking, man. Like, you just gave Bobby Roode a big victory at Lockdown, and then now you have him take a loss here at Sacrifice. Well, for one, it was against Kurt Angle. For two, there's a storyline behind it. And for three, I hate the idea of 50-50 booking anyway. I've never really liked that term, because it's like, you always have to kind of compare it. Like, no offense to James Storm, but James Storm, who's kind of like well-known in our company, has some momentum behind him, but not a lot. And then there's Kurt Angle, who, despite the fact that I haven't been pushing him in the world title picture, is still, according to the game, our top wrestler in our company. Like, he's still number one in our, like, in that creative thing. He's still, like, number one in that top 5 thing. So it's like, there's a big difference between taking a loss to Kurt Angle and getting a victory over James Storm. Not that to take any offense to James Storm, but there's still a kind of a big difference. So it's one of those things where it's like, pecking order wise, it proves that Bobby Roode is better than James Storm in a singles match, but not better than Kurt Angle in a singles match at this point. That kind of idea. But nevertheless, I mean, it was a 16-minute matchup that Bobby Roode held his own in. He had a 73 in-ring performance, so that's still pretty good too. But at the end of the day, Kurt Angle gets the victory here. This is not going to be the end of Bobby Roode's main event push, by the way. Don't worry about that. Because again, like I mentioned, it's part of the story that's going to be heading forward. But yeah, good stuff there for these two. And then our main event gets an 81 rating. 1 point better than the previous matchup. Thank you, AJ, for helping kind of carry that a little bit, because a lot of other workers were lower than that, especially the 3 kind of somewhat weaker ones in it. So 5-way elimination matchup goes 19.5 minutes. Eddie Edwards is eliminated first. We'll say it was by Joe. Then we'll say Davey Richards was also eliminated by Samoa Joe. So it came down to Roderick Strong, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. Christopher Daniels ran out and attacked Roderick Strong, which led to Strong being eliminated from the matchup by Joe. So the idea is that Joe is eliminating everybody so far. So it comes down to Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, and they have a back and forth contest between the two of them, and ends up where AJ is actually able to defeat Samoa Joe and earn the opportunity at Slammiversary. So it will be AJ Styles versus Shelton Benjamin for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary. 81 rating here. Really good way to end the show. 79 rating. I'll take it. I will take a 79. Increase our popularity in 18 regions. I'll take a 79. I'm not too disappointed by that, honestly. So there you go. We have 2 confirmed matches for Slammiversary. Gail Kim will be challenging Velvet Sky for the Knockouts Championship, and AJ Styles will be challenging Shelton Benjamin for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Plus, we got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out of this show. We'll have to check and see how Candice LeRae is doing. Or Candice LeRae. I said Candice LeRae because she popped up in my mind for something else. We'll have to see how Jimmy Jacobs is doing after being chokeslammed through a table by Abyss. Plus, we're going to have to see how everything else plays out as well. See if we can get, see what else we can end up getting out of everything. So there are going to be a couple things I want to make note of here. I'm just looking at a couple things. Okay. So there are a couple things I want to make note of here. First off, you see that this says Sunday, week 2, May 2015 for the date. That's because I had to move the day up. I had to move Sacrifice up a day, technically, in game, because Sky Deutschland AG that we had a events deal with that we're having expire. I forgot that we still had one more guaranteed event with them. And so I ended up accidentally letting it go to the next day. Thankfully, I don't have autosave on. But I had it go to the next day and then found out that I was going to have legal troubles off of it. So I did go back a day and set up Sacrifice to happen a day earlier so I could fulfill that contract. But there is another broadcasting contract that we have that we will be having to deal with. Let me pull it up here really quick. So this TVN Entertainment one that we have, we're letting it expire because we have a new contract with Dish Network, which is only going for 3 months. But as you see, Dish Network has exclusive coverage in all the regions, and so does TVN. We're letting this one expire, but it expires in 15 days, and we have 2 episodes remaining of 12 on that. If I don't fulfill those, then I'm going to end up with legal problems from it. So what I decided is I'm going to do a couple of off-screen, like, quote-unquote charity specials that are only going to be shown on here just to fulfill that contract. I know it's cheesing it, but I also don't want to pay the couple $1 million in penalties later on in legal stuff. Not to mention the fact that I know it sours broadcasters if you don't fulfill a contract. Not just that, but like it could sour all broadcasters in that area if you don't fulfill a contract there, as we found out in the AEW save. So I really don't want to piss off all of our potential American broadcasters because of this bombing. I probably won't show the results of it because, like I said, it's going to be just like charity event thing, so to speak. I haven't set them up yet, but it's basically just going to be, here's these, it's basically going to be glorified house shows is what it's going to be. There's not going to be any title matches, any storyline advancements in them or anything like that. It's basically just going to be glorified events that are only being used just to get rid of the broadcasting deal for these, because it's only going to be shown on this broadcaster as well. So there's that. We're going to be doing that in the near future, or in the next week or so on here, because, reasons, I guess. Again, I know it's kind of a cheesy thing to do, but it's going to work for us because it'll help me out with not having to spend all the money on that, for one. But for 2, also help us with our broadcasters overall. I am keeping better track of our broadcasting contracts heading forward and making sure that we're actually going to fulfill them if we do have a guaranteed amount of episodes schedule-wise, so I won't have to worry about that. But it's just with that one, because I think that one was one that lingered over from the start of the save. Like, I think you're in a contract with them. In this mod, your TNA is in a contract with that company to start off. And so I think that's where it ended up at, was because we still had those guaranteed dates with them And I don't know how the heck we ended up with 2 out of 12 available. I don't remember what happened, but something happened along the way. Nevertheless, that is going to do it for this episode. So thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. We have Slammiversary coming up next as our big event, which is at the end of June in game-wise. So we have 6 weeks to build up to that time. What other matches will be announced? We have 2 matches so far. So we'll have to see the story build for those as the weeks go on. But what other matches get announced for Slammiversary? You can probably predict some of them right now. But we'll have to see. We'll also have to see what Paul London decides to do regarding his guaranteed title opportunity. Does he go for the X Division title, or does he go for the tag titles? And so much more. So thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. And we will catch you in this series in the next video.